Welcome. Today you see how Guardium data protection helps address security and privacy regulatory compliance. Regulations are crucial to cybersecurity in the wake of numerous high-profile data breaches. Many industry-focused regulations put immense pressure on businesses to comply with regulations that cover customer data. Each set of regulations, such as HIPAA, PCI, GDPR, SOX, contains different definitions and requirements, which all impact how an organization works. For example, organizations worldwide that manage credit card data generally choose to comply with the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, or PCI DSS. This standard requires implementing system components such as passwords and encryption to protect data. The standards also specify that real credit cards are not used for test and development purposes. Test and development environments are often generated by cloning production, which includes live credit card information. How many organizations are impacted by this regulation? For healthcare organizations, privacy protection regulations, such as HIPAA in the U.S., are in place to protect individuals' medical records and other personal health information. Where and how is this data stored in the enterprise? How do organizations make sure that records are accessed for business purposes only? This use case shows how a data security specialist might use Guardium data protection as part of the daily tasks, collecting and analyzing data from multiple data sources. It demonstrates how to assess the risk-based data security posture across on-premises and cloud environments. This use case shows how well business compliance initiatives are supported and communicates risk, security trends, and insights to the leadership team. Also, you see how a lead security analyst might use Guardium data protection to triage incidents and cases, investigate and respond to threats, and document investigative findings. This demonstration starts with analytic functions, Smart Assistant, Risk Spotter, and Active Threat Analytics Dashboard. Then, it highlights processes for asset and vulnerability management. You also learn about built-in and custom reporting functions. Then you learn about agents, ancient management, and system management. Let's start the demonstration. IBM Security Guardium Data Protection Solution has its own access management functions. Access management consists of 4 tasks: account administration, maintenance, monitoring, and revocation. Access management is separate from system administration duties. Guardium can define users, roles, permissions, and assign a role to a user to grant specific access privileges. When a role is assigned to an application, only those Guardium users who are also assigned that role can access that component. User definitions can be imported from LDAP. This demonstration uses an administrative account to access all functions. Guardium has hardened appliances. It does not only audit data sources, but it also monitors itself and reports Guardium user activities. When you log in, you see the last login information, fixback details if needed, and tasks to review. The Guardium welcome page shows a flow for data security that is built on experience in this area. It starts with managing the assets and identifying data sources and sensitive data, and continues with vulnerability assessments to identify the gaps in the security posture of the data sources. After you have more visibility over the data sources and sensitive data, you can take the next step. With the proper permissions, a user can monitor and audit activities, report activities, perform actions, and run advanced analytics. This capability provides a bird's-eye view of potential risks in the systems and risk trends over time, and tools to investigate the potential risks. Guardium has compliance monitoring Smart Assistant functions that help quickly configure monitoring for GDPR, PCI, SOX, and other security standards and regulations. Now, view the details for an existing GDPR compliance configuration. The Summary tab shows that one database is being monitored, and there are 2 policies and 16 reports associated with this compliance monitoring. The Databases tab shows more detailed information about the database being monitored. In this case, there is one database of type DB2, and it is being monitored by an STAP agent. There are two policies associated with the GDPR compliance monitoring. The security policy has 10 rules for evaluating database traffic. The discovery scenario describes the types of data Guardium searches for in monitored databases, such as age, gender, or convictions. Guardium provides pre-configured reports for GDPR auditing and reporting requirements. These reports can be used as is or as templates for customized reports. The Compliance Monitoring Dashboard shows a summary of all compliance monitoring. Guardium provides wizards to add other compliance monitoring scenarios, such as SOX, HIPAA, or PCI DSS. Guardium can monitor applications as well as databases. Guardium can monitor multiple databases and multiple applications for multiple compliance standards and regulations. Now, you look at the compliance dashboards. This dashboard shows reports that help with compliance progress. For example, the number of known databases and number of databases that are configured for compliance, privileged users, and monitored objects in the databases, failed logins, commands, and other issues. Select the tabular view to see the values or the graphical view for the summary. Guardium includes the Deploy Monitoring Agents tool to automatically activate GIM clients, install STAPs, and begin monitoring database traffic. The Deploy Monitoring Agents tool simplifies the process of establishing a Guardium deployment. Building on existing Guardium Installation Manager infrastructure, the Deploy Monitoring Agents tool helps quickly find database servers, install monitoring agents, or STAPs, and configure inspection engines for the databases. In addition, the tool provides a centralized view for tracking and reviewing deployment status. Now, look at another tool, Active Risk Spotter. Risk Spotter is a first-of-its-kind technology, changing the security paradigm to an artificial intelligence data protection policy. It uses a holistic algorithm to dynamically assess risk factors, and it uses a smart algorithm to identify potential risks across the entire system. The Risk Spotter algorithm uses Guardium modules to analyze the risk indicators and to identify risky users. Guardium adds 3 types of users to the Risk Spotter. The first one is risky users. Users identified by the Risk Spotter algorithm together with the installed policies. Another type of users is watch list users that are a group of users for further observation or investigation. Guardium can add users to the watch list. The last type is randomly sampled users. Risk Spotter continuously scans the system beyond the policy radar, evaluating non-audited users and identifying potential risky users. The Risk Spotter algorithm uses Guardium modules to analyze the risk indicators and to identify risky users. Each user's overall risk score is calculated daily, based on the audited data. Risk Spotter assigns each user a score in the range 0 to 10. The detailed risk data is presented in the Risky Users table in the Risk Spotter page. Guardium has behavioral analytics for a specific database or user. You can view all cases that are associated with this entity, the distribution of working hours, and the distribution of verbs. The Active Threat Analytics dashboard shows potential security breach cases based on both the outlier mining process and identified attack symptoms. In this dashboard, you can view and investigate cases and act on individual cases. A row of results tabulates the most critical cases, open cases per database, DB users, OS users, file systems, and file user. The cases in each category are identified by their risk level, high, medium, and low. If a database user, file system, or OS user is associated with multiple cases, that database or user is only counted one time. For example, of 40 critical cases, 10 are associated with database A, 10 are associated with user B. The other 20 are associated with various databases and users. The total number of cases is 22, not 40. 1 for database A, 1 for user B, and 20 for other databases and users. The graph shows violations, outliers, errors, and activities over the same period. In summary, Guardium offers advanced analytic tools based on machine learning algorithms using a combination of rules-based policies and symptom analysis to detect patterns of behaviors that map to known industry attack vectors. This identifies insider and external threats. This capability helps act faster and more effectively. Let's discuss how Guardium helps to manage the inventory. Discovery and classification refer to locating and identifying objects in the environment that must be tracked for security and compliance purposes. Discovery is the process of finding important objects such as privileged users, sensitive data, and data sources. Classification is the process of identifying what is discovered for security and compliance purposes. These processes of discovery and classification are important in large organizations where mergers, acquisitions, and existing systems introduce new objects to the environment in unstructured or unpredictable ways. Guardium helps you incorporate these objects into the environment so you can enforce effective security policies and verify compliance. A common scenario involves the discovery of sensitive data. Sensitive data refers to regulated information like credit card numbers, personal financial data, social security numbers, and other information that requires special handling. Guardium supports two different approaches for discovering sensitive data, by using the Discover Sensitive Data Workflow Builder or by using the Policy Builder with other Guardium tools. The Discover Sensitive Data Workflow Builder is an all-inclusive tool for establishing discovery and classification processes for sensitive data. Use it to specify rules for discovery, define actions to take on discovered data, specify which data sources to scan, distribute reports, and run the workflow on an automated schedule. For more advanced users, the Policy Builder supports more granular discovery and classification rules that can be easily incorporated into existing processes and Guardium applications. Databases can exist undetected on the network and expose the network to potential risk. Old databases might be forgotten and unmonitored, or a new database might be added as part of an application package. A rogue DBA might also create a new instance of a database to conduct malicious activity outside of the monitored databases. Auto-discovery uses scan and probe jobs to verify that no database goes undetected in the environment. A scan job scans each specified host, or hosts in a specified subnet, and compiles a list of open ports that are specified for that host. A probe job uses the results of the scan to determine whether database services are running on open ports. You specify the hosts and ports in the auto-discovery process scans. Discovery finds only running databases. Databases need to be started if discovery is to be used during the installation. The auto-discovery process is run on demand or on a scheduled basis. After you start or schedule a job, you can click Progress Summary to display the status of this process. You can find more details for each host in the auto-discovery process progress dialog. Now, you can check the reports for the databases discovered. In the Databases Discovered report, each individual port that is discovered has its own row in the report. This report has time probed, server IP address, server hostname, database type, port type, usually TCP, and a count of occurrences as the columns. You can create custom reports with the Auto Discovery Query Builder. Another Auto Discovery report is Discovered Instances. In the Discovered Instances report, discovered instances are listed, and each individual database instance that is discovered has its own row in the report. This report has host, database protocol, ports, instance name, and more details as the columns. The Discover Sensitive Data end-to-end scenario builder streamlines the processes of discovery, protection, and compliance by integrating several Guardium tools into a single interface. Guardium provides pre-built sensitive data classification scenarios or templates. You can reuse the classification policy that is associated with the scenario. Provide a name and description for the new discovery scenario. You can also specify security roles that can access the discovery scenario. You have two options for data source type: relational, SQL, for relational databases like MySQL, or document, for document type bases like MongoDB. Classification policies contain ordered sets of rules and rule actions that identify and act on sensitive data. Each rule in a policy defines a conditional action that is taken when the rule matches. The conditional test can be simple, for example, a wildcard string anywhere in a table or collection, or a complex test that considers multiple conditions. For sensitive data discovery scenarios, the action that is triggered by a rule can add the matches to a specified group or trigger a notification. Multiple grouping and alerting actions can be combined in order to create sophisticated responses to matched rules. This wizard guides you through creating and editing classification rules and rule actions in the discovery scenario. Data sources store information about the database or repository, such as the type of database, the location of the repository, and authentication credentials associated with it. Adding data sources to a discovery scenario creates a classification process where classification policies are applied to the selected data sources. In this task, you identify the data sources to search for sensitive data. You defined policies for discovering sensitive data and identifying data sources to search. Now you can run the classification process and review the results. In this example, Guardium discovered multiple sets of credit card data. Running the process and reviewing the results enables policy refinement. For example, if the results are too broad, specify more search criteria. It might be necessary to go through several iterations to refine policies, run the process, and assess the results to achieve the wanted results. You can define any number of receivers for the results of a discovery workflow, and you can control the order in which they receive results. In addition, you can specify process control options, such as whether a receiver needs to sign off on the results before they are sent to the next receiver. This demonstration discussed discovery and classification. To summarize, data discovery and data classification help examine content and metadata to identify and classify sensitive data. Guardium Vulnerability Assessment helps to identify and correct security vulnerabilities in the database infrastructure. Database vulnerability assessment is used to scan the database infrastructure for vulnerabilities and provide evaluation of database and data security health with real-time and historical measurements. A vulnerability assessment applies a set of tests to one or more data sources. A data source contains connection information for a database. Running Guardium vulnerability assessments and using the Guardium classifier requires access to the database and specific database privileges. Here you see the data source contains information Guardium needs to connect to a database, including host, port, type, credentials, and name. Data sources are used for many functions in Guardium, including discovery and assessment. A vulnerability assessment contains predefined or custom tests. Predefined tests are designed to illustrate common vulnerability issues that may be encountered in database environments. However, due to the highly variable nature of database applications, some of these tests are suitable for certain databases but inappropriate for others, even within the same organization. Therefore, Guardium enables customization of some predefined tests to meet specific organizational requirements. Also, to keep assessments current with industry standards and protect against new threats, Guardium distributes new assessment tests and updates on a quarterly basis. These updates are part of the IBM Database Protection Subscription Service. Let's view the assessment results. An assessment evaluates multiple tests based on multiple reports. The overall results are displayed in a window entitled Security Assessment Results. The report has sections for assessment identity, assessment selection, assessment results history, results summary, assessment test results, and some more details. The assessment results history shows the percentage of tests that are passed over a period. In the results summary section, a tabular graph summarizes all the tests that were run within this assessment. The x-axis represents the tests, and you have the type of tests on the y-axis. The grid shows the number of tests that passed, failed, and caused an error. The assessment test results section describes the tests that are taken, information about the target data source, each test's pass or fail status, severity, external reference, and reason for the status. You can filter test results. CVE records and CVSS information are displayed in the assessment test result viewer. You can generate a PDF version of the assessment result, download as SCAP XML, or download as Access XML. In this Vulnerability Assessment Test Details dialog, you see that the DB2 on Raptor server does not have the required updates. When the database version and update level do not meet the defined levels, the security assessment is designed to fail. To override this failure, the necessary update level and database version can be manually added to the group builder. When a test fails, you can apply an exception to the test. The assessment results page has filtering capability to find the required test faster. If you want to change the filtering, you can remove the filter by using the Reset Filter option or choose Filter Sort Controls to open Filter and Sort options for the report. Options in this dialog filter include severities, data source, severity classification, scores, and test types. A pass test has test and data source details, but no exception links because it passed. To sum up, Guardium vulnerability assessments can proactively scan databases for vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, authentication controls, and missed updates before they can be used. Quarterly Data Protection Subscriptions, DPS, and Rapid Response DPS help you keep ahead of zero-day vulnerabilities. Now you learn about security policies. Guardium is a data-specific security solution, which means it is SQL aware. It knows how to parse SQL. Policies are sets of rules and actions that are applied in real time to the database traffic observed by a Guardium system. Policies define which traffic is ignored or logged, which activities require more granular logging, and which activities must trigger an alert or block access to the database. Multiple policies can be installed and active at the same time. Guardium provides predefined policies that support established data security standards. For example, the PCI template conforms to the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS. It is also possible to create or customize policies. Multiple policies can be defined and multiple policies can be installed on a Guardium appliance at the same time. This policy is a copy of a template. It contains all the rules from the template. You can edit existing rules or create new rules to customize the copied policy. A security policy contains an ordered set of rules to be applied to the observed traffic between database clients and servers. Each rule can apply to a request from a client or to a response from a server. Policies include 3 types of rules. An access rule applies to client requests. For example, it might test for update commands that are issued from a specific group of IP addresses. An exception rule evaluates exceptions that are returned by the server. For example, an exception rule might test for 5 login failures within 1 minute. An extrusion rule evaluates data that is returned by the server. For example, an extrusion rule might test the return data for numeric patterns that might be Social Security or credit card numbers. You can use categories, classifications, or tags to easily group the policies. Each rule in a policy defines a set of conditions. The condition that is tested can be a simple test. For example, it might check for any access from a client IP address that does not belong to an authorized client IPs group. Or the condition can be complex, considering multiple message and session attributes such as database user, source program, command type, time of day, and so on. The test can count the number of times a condition is met within a specified time frame. This policy rule tests for 3 login failures within 5 minutes to a server whose IP address is a member of the PCI authorized server IPs group. The action triggered by the rule can be a notification action, such as an email, a blocking action, the client session disconnected, or the event might simply be logged as a policy violation. Custom actions can be developed to perform tasks unique to a given environment or application. You can also set the granularity of the action. For example, you can send 1 alert per session, 1 alert per day, or 1 alert for each event. In this case, 1 alert per session is sent if the criteria are met. Another example of an exception rule is one that triggers in case of an SQL error. For many policy rule criteria, you can specify a single value or a group of values. Groups simplify creating and managing policy definitions. Rather than having to repeatedly define a set of data objects for a policy rule, you can put the objects into a group to easily manage them. Many predefined groups are included with Guardium. SQL error codes is one of them. As a Guardium admin or security specialist, you do not need to know all of the error codes that databases can return. You just use the group. Guardium can differentiate the error type, such as if it is a login failure or SQL error. You can have filters for different criteria. In this case, the rule filters the DDL activities running on the cardholder-sensitive objects on authorized servers. This rule uses the DDL commands group for the commands criteria. As a security professional, you don't need to know which commands are DDL commands in specific databases. Guardium includes pre-built groups to help security and Guardium administrators build more effective policies quickly. Access rules, exception rules, and extrusion rules differ in which actions are available. For example, log and ignore actions are available for most policies, but the audit-only action is only available for policies using the selective audit trail setting. To control and decrease the load on a Guardium system, ignore actions can be used. Ignore STAP session is a useful action. With this action, the current request and the remainder of the STAP session are ignored. This action is done with specific systems, users, or applications that are producing a high volume of network traffic. This action is useful in cases where you know that the database response from the STAP session is of no interest. For example, if you have applications with auditing enabled in the application side, you can ignore the traffic from these applications. This action decreases the CPU consumption of STAP because it does not forward the traffic to the Guardium system. It also decreases the load on the Guardium system, which increases system performance. Guardium provides different options for ignoring. You can ignore traffic at the STAP level. You can ignore specific sessions, or you can ignore SQL commands for the remainder of the session. Guardium groups help create and manage classifier, policy, and query definitions. Groups are practical to use. By grouping similar data objects, you can use the whole set of objects in policies, classifications, queries, and reports rather than having to select multiple data objects individually. If you need to change a query or policy, rather than applying these changes to each individual object, you can apply these changes to the group. Many predefined groups are included with Guardium. You can search by the group name in the Group Builder. As you already reviewed this DDL commands group earlier in the policy, you can see the members of the group here. It is possible to add group members manually or automatically. CSV, groups, external data sources, queries, or LDAP are the methods to add group members. This enables Guardium groups to be populated with data from your own data sources and keep those groups in sync with your data. Policy rules and query conditions can test for events that occur or don't occur during user-defined time periods. When you open the Time Period Builder, a set of predefined time periods is available. You can edit the available time periods to meet your needs, or you can define your own. In the Policy Management section of the demo, you saw that Guardium includes predefined security and compliance policy templates that can be customized based on the audit and regulatory requirements. Policies can be built to detect any threat scenario with the most common audit constructs and other contextual information. To automate compliance, tracking, and reporting, policies and rules can be easily created, updated, and tagged for specific data security and privacy regulations and standards without duplicating administrative efforts. These policies instruct real-time data activity monitoring and security alerts, which inform detailed audit trails and risky user profiles. Guardium Data Protection notifies security analysts with alerts in real time when a security policy is violated. Now you learn about reporting capabilities. IBM Security Guardium Data Protection includes predefined policies and reports. Some of these pre-built configurations are accelerators. Accelerators provide customizable regulation-specific reports, policies, tools, and workflow automation that accelerate compliance and simplify validation with a broad range of requirements. Guardium includes PCI, Basel II, data privacy, SOX, GDPR, and CCPA-specific accelerators. Here you see general information about PCI DSS regulation. In the PCI Accelerator for Compliance page, you can learn how Guardium helps secure your data and meet PCI requirements. It provides customizable PCI DSS-specific reports, policies, tools, and workflow automation that accelerate compliance and simplify validation with a broad range of requirements. Now you can jump to GDPR. GDPR is another regulation for which Guardium has pre-built definitions. In the GDPR Accelerator for Compliance page, you learn how Guardium helps secure data and meet GDPR requirements. It provides customizable GDPR-specific reports, policies, tools, and workflow automation that accelerate compliance and simplify validation with a broad range of requirements. One such useful report is on policy violations and incident management. This report shows a list of events that violated installed policies. You can perform actions on individual events. In this case, you assign a policy violation to a new open incident. Another report is for the database inventory. In this report, you can see the number of servers and client sources accessing these servers by the database type. This report can help you validate the database types that you're using most. If you don't remember the menu for a specific tool in Guardium, you can search for it with the search bar. Guardium includes many pre-built queries and reports. You can use them, customize them, or create a custom report. To support reporting, Guardium includes Audit Process Builder to streamline your compliance workflow process by consolidating, in one spot, database activity monitoring tasks, such as asset discovery, vulnerability assessment and hardening, database activity monitoring and audit reporting, report distribution, sign-off by key stakeholders, and escalations. It is also possible to export audit results to external repositories for more forensic analysis, such as syslog, CSV, or CEF files, or external feeds. An audit process can contain multiple audit tasks. When you add a report type task, it produces a report, either custom or a Guardium predefined report, which can be distributed. Reports can be exported in CSV, CEF, and PDF formats, or written to syslog to feed other solutions. The Audit Process Builder automates distributing audit process output to individual users and roles. These process receivers can view and manage audit process output. Audit process receivers are notified by email or by their task list of pending audit process results. You can designate any receiver as a signer for a process. In this case, the results can be held at that point on the distribution list until that receiver electronically signs the results or releases them. You can define any number of receivers for a workflow automation process, and you can control the order in which they receive results. You can run the audit process manually or schedule it to run periodically. Scheduling is useful for compliance purposes to send a periodic set of results for auditing. After the audit process runs, you can review the results. Results include which receivers viewed or signed off on the workflow, comments, and the reports, assessments, and other tasks included in the process. Receivers can download a PDF version of the report. In addition, receivers can notify other receivers using the escalate function. This demo section covered reporting functions. Guardium Data Protection offers tools to reduce the time it takes to audit and report on compliance with compliance accelerators and automated workflows. Now let's discuss Guardium management. Guardium administrators perform various administration and maintenance tasks. Management tasks include monitoring your system's health and managing artifacts such as groups, domains, and notifications. Here are some major Guardium administration activities. The system view is the default initial view for many users. It displays key elements of system status. The System Monitor workflow displays up-to-date details about incoming data, CPU usage, and other information. Disk usage of Guardium systems, request rates, and logins to Guardium systems are some of these details. Guardium provides tools to monitor the health of the Guardium environment. The deployment health topology shows a graphical view of the Guardium environment and the health of the nodes. Here you see that the collector is in good health, except aggregation is unconfigured. You can access reports that show details about the node or log into the node. For each STAP reporting to this Guardium system, this report identifies the STAP host, DB server type, STAP version, status, and inspection engine status. It also shows last response received date and time, primary host name, and indicators for firewall and encryption. Therefore, the Guardium administrator can view the status of the STAP agent on the database server without requiring access to the monitored database server. The STAP control window shows information about STAP agents and provides options to send a command to the STAP agent, display STAP event logs, and edit STAP configuration. The STAP control window provides a centralized point to view all STAPs managed by this Guardium system, manage individual STAPs, and run a set of operations on all STAPs. Inspection engines are the group of parameters set for each database monitored. The STAP agent periodically scans the database server for new databases and automatically configures an inspection engine for each. However, you can also manually create a new inspection engine or modify the parameters for existing inspection engines. Guardium has a component that is called Guardium Installation Manager, or GIM, used to install and maintain Guardium components on managed servers. The GIM includes a GIM server, which is installed as part of the Guardium system, and a GIM client, which is installed on servers that host databases that you want to monitor. The GIM client is a set of Perl scripts that run on each managed server. After installation, the GIM client works with the GIM server to run tasks. The GIM client installs, updates, configures, and uninstalls agents. The GIM client also monitors and controls agent processes on the database server. To manage large number of GIM installations, create groups of GIM clients, then use the groups to install, update, and manage software bundles. In the Choose Bundle section, you can see the modules that can be installed or maintained for the server that was chosen in the previous step. After the software bundle selection, you can see the actions that can be run, such as installation, upgrade, and update parameters. With the Update Parameters option, the bundle parameters are updated on the client. You see the parameters and their current values. You can change them according to your needs. You can directly install or uninstall the bundle or create an API to call the installation from other tools and scripts. With GIM, you can immediately run or schedule the installation for maintenance windows overnight or weekends. You can also track the performance of Guardium appliances. The Unit Utilization Report provides an enterprise-level view of collector usage. It employs a simple low, medium, or high indicator that shows which collectors are over or underused. The analysis is mostly based on usage monitor data, with a few parameters from the Guardium statistics collected internally on the collectors. Now, the demonstration discusses how to manage Guardium appliances. To manage the Guardium system, there are pages and reports in the user interface that you can set and maintain. One of these tasks is System Backup. System Backups store all the necessary data and configuration values to restore your Guardium system. Different protocols are available for the backup, such as SCP or SFTP and Amazon S3. You can select to backup configuration, data, or both. Another setting is about notifications. Guardium has an alerter to send email messages, SNMP traps, and alert-related syslog messages. Other components create and queue messages for the alerter. The alerter checks for and sends messages based on the specified polling interval. The Global Profile page defines defaults that apply to all users. It sets defaults for your Guardium system. You can add your own header and footer to reports, upload your company logo, create a default message template, and much more. Some information can be set in the System Configuration page. However, most of the information on the System Configuration window is set by using the CLI. From the Guardium portal page, you can reset the port for the Guardium Appliance web server, import SSL certificates, and configure authentication for your Guardium system users. Local users, Radius, LDAP, and Smart Card are the options for authentication. Multi-factor authentication adds an extra layer of security to your Guardium user accounts. Guardium supports the Duo Authentication Engine or RSA Secure ID. In summary, Guardium monitors data access operations in real time to detect unauthorized actions based on policies. It reacts automatically to help prevent unauthorized or suspicious activities by privileged insiders and potential hackers. Guardium data protection reduces the risk of a data breach by providing real-time data security visibility and intelligence. Guardium enables organizations to address increasingly complex data security and privacy regulations, mitigating threats and risky users.